3 weeks before the mayor is set to expand the ULEZ zone to all 32 London boroughs. Now, that's going to be interesting. Let's get a voice on this from the House Builders Association. Rico Wojtulewicz is with us. Rico, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon.
Are you able to square the circle here? I'm listening to what Mr. Khan is saying, and I think to break it down, if we have a ULEZ zone, fewer people will have asthma. Not that there's any link to the two anyway, and therefore some tradespeople have asthma, less tradespeople will have asthma, and they won't take time off work because of their asthma because we have a ULEZ zone. I think that's what he's saying.
So his approach is based on the fact that inside your vehicle you can actually get very poor air quality driving around, and that's particulate matter coming back. So he has a point. Poor air quality does contribute to health issues and premature death. However, it seems like we're pivoting every few weeks. So obviously we had David Lammy saying that we should use the tube, and that's an easy solution. But of course, King's College London has found that air in tube carriages is 18 times worse than the roadside air above ground.
Yep.
The last month shows that air quality across London is actually good, and that's across 7 different measures. You can check that via IQ Air.
Yep.
So squaring the circle, no, I'm not sure he can really, and I think it's just simply another pivot. You know, you've got 4.7% of Londoners work in the construction industry, and that's the broader construction industry. So it really feels like he's targeting a minority of people here.
I mean, it would be extraordinary if he were able to provide sort of specific proof of this. Of course, you know, if you say to somebody you want better air quality, the answer is always going to be yes. But of course, there's a bit of a marriage, unhappy or otherwise, that has to be formed around this. Firstly, cars and vehicles are not the only contributor to air quality. There's many other factors that are out there as well. So there is that. And in addition, I mean, there is an argument that says, look, you know, if we live in a modern world, there's commerce going on, there's buildings, there's all sorts of things happening. If we were to mitigate against every possibility, none of us would ever go out the front door.
I think it's a fair point. You have to stop somewhere, and you have to be practical and fair. And I think that we haven't actually seen that from the mayor. And I can understand his position, but London's air quality has improved considerably. But I don't think he understands, as very few politicians do, understand small business and the impact this is really going to have on them. Yeah. And, you know, if you're an existing company, an existing largest company, okay, you may be able to mitigate some of these issues and maybe get some loans. But if you're a new company or want to start up in the industry in the future, how on earth are you going to be able to afford it? I did some quick checks before, obviously coming on. You are looking at spending the minimum of £5,000 on a large van. It's got 265,000 miles. That's the cheapest one I could find. You can't guarantee that vehicle is going to last for as long as you need it.
Of course.
You know, £8,000 for petrol. An EV, you can get an EV for £4,400, but it's got an 80 mile or a 60. Sorry, that's a 60 mile range, and £5,500 for an 80 mile range. When you start loading that van up with things, it's just not going to work.
And if you want to get really scientific about it as well, Rico, I mean, the carbon footprint of that van, I mean, it might be great specifically for some streets of London, but the journey that van has been on to get to where it was doesn't necessarily create a moral argument about air pollution.
Well, bringing up that moral argument, obviously the vehicles have to be scrapped, so you have to give proof that the vehicle has been scrapped. And I had a big issue with this in the last scrappy scheme we had. What happened in the last scrappy scheme is that the really cheap cars that people used to be able to afford went up in price. The people that really couldn't afford new vehicles, they had to pay more for cars that were paying higher tax, higher insurance, because they were now the cheapest vehicles. New Corsas and new Fiestas, they were out of the reach of ordinary people. So we're actually just scrapping vehicles, putting them into potentially recycling many of the parts, but not necessarily. We're not sending them anywhere else in the world. We're not giving them a longer life. We're not utilising all those parts. You just think to yourself, what on earth is going on? It's not really a strategic outcome for the climate. So is it just a tax? I think many in the industry think it just is.
Yeah, I sense that too. Rico, thank you for your time. So really appreciate that. Rico Wojtulewicz from the House Builders Association. It's all kind of common sense stuff.